I'm here. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you stay updated, informed, and connected.
Do you know why Egypt is so uncomfortable with the Ethiopian New Dam? The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam? This is not just a small disagreement about water. This is a question of survival, of history, of development, and of Africa's destiny. The Nile River, that great river that carried the pyramids, that gave life to one of the oldest civilizations on earth, is not an ordinary river. It is the lifeblood of Egypt. For thousands of years, Egyptians have depended on it for their farms, their food, and their very survival in the desert. Without the Nile, there is no Egypt. That is the reality. And this is why when some people claim Egypt is not Africa, I just laugh. But here is what many people do not know. The Nile has two main sources. The White Nile flows from the Great Lakes region of Africa, from Lake Victoria in Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya, stretching all the way through South Sudan before it reaches Sudan. It is the longer path, the spine of the river. But the Blue Nile, coming out of the highlands of Ethiopia from Lake Tana, carries the strength of the river. It provides about 80 to 85% of the total water that Egypt eventually receives. At Khartoum in Sudan, the White Nile and the Blue Nile meet. From there, they flow north as one mighty river through Egypt into the Mediterranean Sea. So while Uganda and the Great Lakes give the Nile its length, it is Ethiopia that gives the Nile its power. And this is where the heart of the matter lies. For decades, treaties written under colonialism gave Egypt and Sudan control over the river, while Ethiopia was denied the right to use the very water that originates from its mountains. This was injustice written on paper by foreign hands. And now, Ethiopia has said, enough. It is time to use our own resources, to lift our people from poverty, to stand with dignity. This is why in 2011 Ethiopia began to build the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, a project so huge that it can hold more than 74 billion cubic meters of water, a dam so powerful that it can generate over 6,000 megawatts of electricity, making it the largest hydropower project in all of Africa. Do you understand what this means? Ethiopia can give electricity to more than 120 million of its people, many of whom still live in darkness. Beyond that, Ethiopia can export electricity to neighbors, to Sudan, to Djibouti, to Kenya, and maybe one day to light up the whole of East Africa. This is not just a dam. It is a symbol of African ambition. But while Ethiopia celebrates, Egypt trembles. Why? Because when Ethiopia begins filling this dam, less water flows downstream. If Ethiopia fills it too quickly, the farmers of the Nile Delta will watch their crops wither. The taps of Cairo may begin to run dry. Egypt, a country of more than 100 million people, fears for its survival. Sudan, standing between the two, feels both the danger and the opportunity. On one hand, the dam could protect it from floods and give it access to cheap electricity. On the other hand, if Ethiopia controls the flow without cooperation, Sudanese farmers will suffer too. So you see, my brothers and sisters, this is why the issue is so tense. It is not because the Nile is short. It is long, yes, stretching from Uganda all the way to the sea. But the real weight of the Nile, its life-giving water, flows from Ethiopia. And whoever controls the Blue Nile holds great power. Yet I say this as a son of Africa. Africa's biggest dam must never be a source of African conflict. It must be a source of African pride. We must not allow the Nile